Hello everyone. There is indeed anybody out there. This is a test transmission, come pilot broadcast. We're breaking a studio already, barely 10 seconds in.
Keep us dead.
Hi everyone, my name is Adam, and with me, 13X. Cat, what should we call you?
Hello, Cat. It's
Cat.
fine.
Recording name 13X currently, and just looking through your list of releases that you've had over the last few years. Looks like a good project a year.
Yeah.
Most recently this year, difficult year, did a very epic track called Winter Cuts. Last year there was that very good album Anti-Scene. How do you pronounce the one from 18? Liam Voem?
It's like Liam Voem. It was like a mixture of live and emom, and like every alternative letter.
And that was actually a basic live recording, wasn't it? From a
Yeah,
gig.
it was direct from a soundboard. Just did a little bit of mastering on the end of it and put it out.
Back in 2017, there was a Doom tape, and that was a collection of lots of old recordings, which we'll be talking about.
Yeah,
probably.
that was stuff with who's now home taper, Tom. He was Break Major, so it was just like a collection of stuff that we'd done from 2010 onwards.
And then, way back in 2016, let me get this right, Aphasagoraphobia.
Yeah, long name. It's basically
Great tracks though, great album.
that was pretty much a blur, but yeah.
What does that actually mean, Aphasagoraphobia?
It's the fear of isolation and being left.
Okay.
So it's actually the fear of being completely sort of alienated or being completely alone.
Okay,
It was
well,
kind of like my stab at a bit of a concept album.
interesting. Okay, so was that your first actual full album that you put out as an album?
As 13 acts, yeah.
As 13X?
Yeah.
And all these albums are available on Bandcamp, aren't they?
Yeah, you can get them all on Bandcamp.
13X.
I think all of the tracks are on SoundCloud as well.
So that's good 5 years of recordings there, and of course an absolutely vital part of Peak City Radio. You've got one official show of your own, Schrodinger's Box, and then you pop up here, there, and everywhere, don't you? Really?
I'm like a rash.
Feel like playing any songs? We're going to do this totally on the fly, everyone. So we're just literally going to think of songs and play them as we're talking.
Yeah,
What should we play?
I'll let you take the first one.
Alright, we'll bat it backwards and forwards. This one, of course, pop music. Well, I'll tell you what, let's play one that we both love.
Go on then. Let's have it.
I'll put on the long one.
Nice one.
That's assuming YouTube doesn't block or mute these, which it sometimes does. You have to be a bit careful.
Should be okay for just waffling over
Just
the
get
top
them.
of it, right?
Yeah, it should be. We'll
Just keep talking crap, it'll be fine.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Just say anything to cover up the silence.
That's it.
But yeah, so you're a vital part of Peak City Radio,
That's
doing
been
the
fun.
Schrodinger's Box show, which is all things electronica and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much sort of left field stuff. Anything from drony weirdness to EBM. Like bits of anything that I'm listening to at the time. I'll get stuck on there
And I mean, you pop up. It's not totally your show, but you've kind of spearheaded the hip hop show, which is brilliant. The beatdown, and almost pretty much most of that's yourself. And
that's been good. That's been
brought hip hop to the radio
Hella
brilliantly. All kinds of hip hop as well, isn't it? It's
I mean, it's another one of those genres that just goes everywhere. Like there's, you can have like your cheesy sort of Jay-Z and stuff and your pop stuff, or you can go out and listen to like we've been discovering like Jewish New York hip hop and like old school stuff from years ago and new stuff that's coming out on Stone's Throw. So much good stuff to work with there. So.
And then you pop up on various other shows, like we've got a D&B set by you, we've got old school rave, we've got some safe space, indie and kind of personal favourites, some EBM even. So definitely covered all bases there, and I think for everyone watching, I mean, one of the things we're going to be doing in this is just chatting all things music. So it's great to have you on the radio, and it's great that you cover so many bases.
It's great to be here chatting like we generally do every other night.
Yeah, well, we do. We thought it might be quite good to kind of put it out there, see
this
what
is
we
us
come
in
up
real
with.
life, for real.
So yeah, all sorts of genres there. Electronica, hip hop, indie, rock, EBM, drum and bass.
Love them all. Love them all.
Where does it all go back to? And we're playing some real oldies here. The Beat the Clock, this one Sparks.
I mean, this was a single my mum had.
Really?
That ended up in my record collection as a really young kid, like 4 or 5.
This song's 41 years old now, I think.
Oh,
they're still going strong.
It's a year older than me, I'm depressed.
I've just ordered their new album off Amazon, and I was just saying to you, that and Yellow, their new album, it's the
I'm
two.
looking forward to that.
It's been ages since I've actually bought an album, like bought the CD. Not that I mixed up, obviously, but you know, Spotify and everything.
So,
it's quite rare that you actually buy a CD nowadays. When was the last CD you bought?
Oh God. Now you're asking. I actually don't remember the last CD I bought. I'm pretty much cheap, and I generally tend to rip everything off.
Well, I'm a vinyl junkie, and I'm looking at some classic old vinyls there, and I think records last longer than CDs, don't they? Really?
Yeah, they make better frisbees.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
You can roll up certain things on records better.
I think it's gone disgusting though that records have gone from being 10p in charity shops to 50 quid for like deluxe editions. It's like a bit of a steep run up there. In this case, will we see the comeback of tapes?
Well, I've got this one on blue picture disc, which is great in itself because there's nothing like a picture disc on blue vinyl. Mm-hmm. Even better, it's got those Peter Cook comedy monologues.
Yeah, they're great. It's like, let's wheel the drunk Peter Cook in here and give him a microphone.
Well, apparently they were doing Derek and Clive in the next studio.
Wasn't it supposed to be the last album they ever did as Derek and Clive, but was the really, really offensive one?
Really, really offensive.
Yeah, like every other word was fuck, apparently. I won't say any of the other words. But.
So we're going right back here to the 79, and without sort of giving away our ages and stuff, I think both of us are into music that predates us, aren't we? But in terms of your earliest memories of stuff you remember when you were growing up?
Would have been Bowie, I think. Bowie was a big thing growing up.
Should we stick some Bowie on? Any particular song that really takes you back?
I know it's really overplayed, but the first one that I really remember was Change It.
This might well get us...
like, I know it's a really cheesy overplayed Bowie song, but...
I can't go wrong.
I still like it. Bowie was a big thing. Both my parents.
So your parents were into music and.
Yeah, my mum was more into like 60s stuff, like Kinks and Hollies and stuff like that. My dad was into. He was like me. He was pretty much into everything. Like he'd have reggae.
That sounds very Beatley, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think it sounds Beatley, like Lady Madonna or something?
It does, yeah. And then like my stepdad was really into heavy rock and punk and stuff. So from like 3 or 4.
Okay.
It was kind of like a big thing.
What about the Beatles and the Stones?
Not so much the Beatles and the Stones in our house. I'd say it was more like Led Zeppelin, Bowie, Hollies, Kinks, stuff like that. There was very little Beatles, if any.
Yeah, my dad didn't like the Beatles. I kind of found them on my own.
Yeah.
My mum liked their really early stuff, you know. She loves you, yeah. We were just talking actually before we started this. Let's get our first bit of kind of pop trivia. A rumour that there's all sorts of stuff about Paul is dead, which we don't need to talk about here. But if you believe that, if you buy into that narrative that Paul was replaced by someone called Billy Pepper, who was Billy Shears, and Billy Pepper and the Pepperports is a genuine album, but it's a very Beatles sound-alike.
Yeah.
And it was on Pickwick, I think, or it was. Now, you were saying that Lou Reed used to play on them, so there's a possibility he might have even been Billy Pepper.
Could have been Lou Reed. Yeah, it was like, as I was saying, like I think before the Velvet Underground, he was snapped up by Pickwick.
Yeah.
They used to make horrible sound-alike albums. Like, big people that didn't know, it was like big 70s hits of the time. Like, I don't know, Bee Gees or Leo Say or whatever, and it'd be done by this in-house band that'd have a clever name like In Stereo or Quadraphonic Sound or whatever, so people would think they'd be getting the real album.
Yeah, I know, the sort of knockoff sound-alikes.
Yeah, like Lou Reed did a lot of those, especially like the old surfy Beach Boys rip-off ones and stuff like that. Hear Lou Reed like jangling away.
What do you think it is about Bowie that, A, for you, but also for us, sort of the world, just makes him so special?
I think I don't know. He's always like tried different things. He's never been one thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you always know it's Bowie. And I'm sorry for the clicking. I've got a broken lighter.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
If you don't like one period of Bowie, you might like another period of Bowie. Like, for years, I hated 80s Bowie.
Yeah.
Could not stand 80s Bowie. Thought it was crap, it was corporate, it was terrible, Tin Machine was a bit wank. And now I'm starting to listen to Let's Dance. And it's kind of like, I'm starting to appreciate little bits about that as well.
I think it's a classic case where
Aladdin Saint's definitely the best one.
Someone does something and then everyone copies it. And because everyone copies it, it becomes very tired and very sort of like almost a cliche.
Yeah.
But actually, when you look back at the people who kind of originated it, it was original when they did it. And I think Let's Dance, I mean, he did kind of pioneer a big 80s sound there. No, I mean, it wasn't copying anyone really, was it?
Not really. I mean, it fit in. But I mean, like, Bowie, as great as he is and as wonderful as he is, and he was the first to admit it, he is one of music's greatest thieves.
Yeah.
You know, take inspiration from, I don't know, soul
I'm going to play
music.
one that I know he ripped a bit off, at least one line. I read the news today, oh boy.
I know you spoil it.
Sorry. Oh, Young Americans, wasn't it?
Huh? Young Americans and Fame, yeah. John Lennon was on the...
Oh, he was on Fame, yeah.
He was on the Young Americans album, yeah.
And Mick Jagger used to hang around with the Beatles a lot, apparently. So
Yeah.
Donovan, I think, they quite sort of... You had like groups hanging out with each other, and then you mentioned obviously Bowie, Lou Reed.
I mean, with the groups thing as well, like there was the Rolling Stones Rock and Roll Circus, where like in the crowd there's like John and Yoko, and you've got like all the other people, and I think Donovan was on that as well.
Yeah,
And they're all
that's
just
right.
stood
Yeah,
watching him as like.
was that when they did "You Can't Always Get What You Want" and stuff?
Yeah.
Brilliant. John was just there in the
makes me
crowd
a little
like a
bit
fan,
worrying
wasn't he?
towards a young fan.
But I loved John in that. He was literally, he wasn't a superstar or anything.
It's just a dude.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like, pay me no mind, I'm just here for the gig.
I think...
I like that about John Lennon.
Well, I'm torn between John and George, my favourite Beatle. I think
George. Definitely George.
Yeah, probably for me, but John up there as well. Those two, really, for me.
Well, there's a hell of a drop-off between John and Paul for me.
The Paul argument.
Yeah,
what is
the
it
two
about
good
Paul?
Beatles are dead. All right, let's be honest here.
Well,
Two
unless
good
Paul
Beatles are
died
dead.
back in the day.
Well, 3 Beatles.
But what is it about
Seriously,
Paul
watch the
that
Paperback
rubs
Writer
people up the
video.
wrong way?
Gap tooth.
Okay, yeah. What is it about Paul that rubs people up the wrong way, do you think? Is
He's
it
a
the
chirpy
music?
jingle writer.
Granny music.
It's like, yeah. It's all like, oh, I love you, Derek. Love
Even
you,
this song, you know, it's here we go, really nice and dreamy, and then we'll go down a bit.
That's what I said the
But
other
it
day.
kinda
I said,
works,
like,
yeah.
it's the most... That's the one thing in this whole song that makes it... Like, everybody says this is, like, the best song ever. And
It's
the
one of
Paul
them.
bit is just so cringy. Go down, pound the slash.
Do you not think it kind of, the song itself almost acknowledges that?
Well, there's a bit naff.
Yeah, because that's kind of the point in a way that
Mm.
this is really out there, and then it sort of deliberately snaps you back to this mundane reality world.
I think Billy's got a lot to answer for.
And ELO basically built every song they ever did off his, didn't they?
You know my...
Sunday morning,
You know my views on the Yellow.
And then, if that wasn't enough, the Hoosiers then ripped off ELO. You do not like the Hoosiers, do you?
I hate the Hoosiers. See, I like a lot of music, but I'm very picky about what I don't like.
Yeah, well, that's quite interesting, actually. So, yeah, we've talked about the sort of basic childhood. Oh, yeah, do you want to get one lined up?
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll look at that in more detail. What's good and bad music? What makes music good? What makes it bad? I think my worst Paul moment's probably Obla Di Obla Da.
Yeah.
I don't mind Martha, My Dear. It's kind of granny-ish, but it's good music.
I'll let you do that. Paul, it's just... He's in... Sorry?
Louder.
I'm trying a bit like Paul's a bit... I don't know, he's just naff. He's like, everything he's done is pretty naff.
Even
I mean, like,
George
he even
did.
did a single, I think it was a couple of years ago with, like, Rihanna and Kanye. Could you ever imagine John doing a song with...
Wasn't it that thing with Will I Am and Black Eyed Peas. I know that
No, it
was
was
Mick Jagger,
different
wasn't
one.
it?
Yeah. No, it's Kanye and Rihanna, I think.
Yeah, I think that rings a bell.
It was like, why? Why?
Has he got a new album out? Or
I don't even care.
mind you, the worst ever Beatles song for me is probably Ringo. Is it Don't Pass Me By? The worst song on the White Album.
When I'm 64, every time.
I don't mind that one so much.
Lovely Rita does my toes in.
I like that one. That's one of the better ones for me.
I like Helter Skelter. Rocky Raccoon was alright. There's a really cute recording of Kurt Cobain when he was about 4 trying to sing along to Rocky Raccoon.
Really?
That sold it for me, being the big Nirvana groupie that I am.
Well, we'll come on to Nirvana, yeah, more. And by the way, I don't know how long we'll make this video, but we're not going to do it all in one. What the point is just get this open-ended dialogue about music, and we'll bring in all sorts. This first one's just, it's a bit of a test, but just to kind of introduce this.
Yeah, we're just chatting.
I won't do all the kind of dog whistle stuff on this one, just in case anyone's got a dog.
Dog whistle?
Yeah, there's a dog whistle. At the end of the piano, they put a few seconds of dog whistle. All right, I will now.
Huh.
Before the cut-up bit, which on the original vinyl just went on round and round, apparently.
Huh.
Are we even going to get that on a video?
Maybe. I think it's muted.
How many pianos did they press at once to get that? Oh, they missed out the best bit of the song. All right, the Kinks. Everybody's Going to Be Happy. Another classic band. Classic.
Indeed.
Quite a southern band for you, bearing in mind.
I know. Generally, I hate.
Where were you born again?
Sorry?
Where were you actually born?
I was born in Harrogate.
In Harrogate. Wow.
Yeah.
And grew up in Yorkshire.
Yeah, you've got double tracking.
Oh god, yeah, it's a mashup with Strawberry Fields. That sounded quite good actually.
If you're on acid, probably.
You get hidden messages if you play both songs at once.
I'll start with that again after Judas Priest. Yeah, I mean, where are you from actually?
Well, I'm way down south, so yeah, we've got all bases covered here. We've got me from the south, you from the north, and the whole thing of Peak City was really inspired by a lot of northern music. I love southern bands as well, but relocating up here, I found musically been really amazing.
So you sound like the vibe had changed, hadn't you? Coming from down south to up north, and now.
Well, it's really interesting when you look at musical history, and the Beatles had to go down south to record their stuff in a way, so. They were a classic case of a band going from the north to the south. I've done it the other way around.
You're the anti-Beatles.
Yeah. Kinks, London, aren't they? Pure London. Our good friend Jason, he's from Kinks neighbourhood.
King Clan.
Yeah, Muswell Hill and stuff.
I've never been to London.
Oh, you should come down. But yeah, the Kinks, was that a band that you grew up with or one you found yourself?
Bit of both. My mum, again, like the Kinks, she had a greatest hits tape, and then just discovering more things by them in later life. Random songs would pop up somewhere, and they were just a band I really liked. And again, I think it probably came from liking Blur a lot.
Oh, okay. So you went backwards. You found there was a modern band, and then you kind of discovered who influenced them.
The two bands very much remind me of each other.
Should we stick some Blur on? What's the most kinky
What's
Blur
the most
song?
kinky Blur song? Tracy Jacks.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
That's a classic album track that we haven't heard for years.
I think Blur, they're a bit like Bowie in that they constantly reinvented themselves.
Definitely.
Especially things like Beetlebum Song 2 and then...
Yeah, it was almost grungy.
But even...
They were almost cashing in on the back end of grunge with that, and I'm Just a Killer for Your Love on that album. It was a good album.
It was Blur versus Oasis. See, I really like both, and I don't think you can really compare them other than they were out at the same time, and there was a kind of very hyped up rivalry.
Point counterpoint. Oasis were alright. First album, great album, definitely maybe.
They didn't progress
brilliant.
in the way that Blur progressed, did they?
Yeah, I find it weird again, like, we're on about the north-south divide thing, and I'm from up north, and I should be smart in a way.
Yeah.
So you're from down south.
Yeah, mind you, they are the dark side. They're like Manchester, Lancashire side, aren't they?
Yeah.
You're Yorkshire through and through.
Yeah.
And,
But yeah,
it's interesting,
they both told very similar stories, and there's that.
What do you think's the difference between, say, Yorkshire and Manchester, say, Leeds and Sheffield versus Manchester bands?
Ooh, that's a question. I think Manchester bands have kind of a bit of a leg up already because they're in Manchester. I think Manchester's like the prime music place up here. Either that or Liverpool. Whereas Leeds, we've got a good steady drip of good bands, but then we've also got kind of average ones. Like, we've had like Gang of Four that were amazing, and then like you got Kaiser Chiefs now who kind of suck.
Because every roots of goth scene started kind of
like you got like Mission, Sisters from there.
Cult are from Bradford, aren't they?
Yeah, I never liked the Cult much.
But
I thought they were a bit too posturing, a bit too cock rock for goth. But
and York, where you've lived for a long time, that's got quite a vibrant music scene, isn't it?
Mm. A lot of indie around there.
More than just Shed 7.
Yeah, the less said about Shed 7 about.
Chasing Rainbows is one of my faves.
I like them musically, I'm not going to get into any libel cases here, but the singer nearly got one.
So, in terms of your own music, and you obviously grew up with parents, you've got your really good kind of foundations, albeit in the more rock kind of side of things.
Yeah.
When did you first play an instrument, or try to have a dabble yourself?
Well, my dad played drums, and he always used to like randomly get instruments, and he got me a drum kit, I think, like a little, those crappy Mickey Mouse Bond Tempe ones, like the plastic ones. Within 2 days, my mum had thrown it out.
Price kind of thing.
She'd thrown it out straight away, but from that day on, I'd always had like this love affair with drums. And
so your drums was your first
That was
instrument.
my first real instrument.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, loved it. I always wanted to be a drummer.
And any particular drummers really inspire you?
Yeah.
Let's get some great drumming in.
Got like Mitch Mitchell from the Jimi Hendrix Experience.
Any particular song?
You'd be lucky, it's really hard to find Jimi Hendrix on
Alright.
there. Deep Purple.
Yeah, let's play some Purple.
John Bonham.
Which Purple song's got really good drumming?
Bloodsucker was a damn good song.
Which one?
Bloodsucker or Fireball. Like the intro to Fireball is amazing.
Let's get a bit of that on.
It's a good tune. John Bonham.
Yeah, I love Ginger Baker in particular.
Ginger Baker was good. I never listened to that much Cream.
Ringo. He's alright. He can do certain beats. You
keep defending Ringo.
Well, it depends on the song. We talked about Helter Skelter. If we had a really muso debate about the drum sound on Helter Skelter.
That was good. That was good.
Yeah.
See, I go on about Ringo being crap, and many people think that Meg White's crap, but I kind of really like her style, just sloppy and,
I guess it depends on what we're trying to do.
She's a good blues drummer.
That's a good song, that. Blur and Tracy Jacks, and let's have a bit of Deep Purple and Fireball. Classic rock. Wow. Nice detuned piano there. This is from 71.
It's probably ripped or some terrible
We had this theory, didn't we? We came up with that the 70s started off really well.
Ended really well.
But in the middle went really, really pants.
It's like a beautiful sandwich made of fat meat.
Like a shit glam sandwich.
Shit glam sandwich? Wasn't that a song by The Sweet?
It sounds like one.
It sounds like a song by The Sweet.
Yeah.
Shit glam sandwich, bang a little boy, girl.
Yeah, kind of like the
I'm
bread.
watching Chris Morris again.
The bread would have been like metal and punk, and the kind of mayo would have been like good disco, space disco, or whatever.
Yeah.
And some good bands.
And it'd be, I don't know, like a Stilton squirrel sandwich or something.
It's just the 70s thing's either really naff or really brilliant, isn't it?
I always kind of like pigeonhole the entirety of the 70s sucking, but I mean, Purple.
Yeah. And did this stuff really, like, you did sort of hard rock drumming and stuff when you started?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the pub where my mum worked, the guy that ran it had a drum kit. So
Oh, cool.
when my mum was working, I'd just like.
Did you play with any other musicians?
Sorry.
When did you first play with other musicians?
When I was at secondary school,
Okay, yeah.
we started like having actual like drum lessons at school properly and like
Yeah.
for your grading and stuff. And there was a group of us that used to annoy our music teacher because he was really into classical and stuff. And we were there in the practice room just jamming out to like grunge and like Jimi Hendrix. He'd always have a fit, but like the first band I was in was just great. Ran
What
for
were
a
you
couple of
called?
years. We had loads of really horrible, terrible names because we were all like 11, 12, 13.
Yeah.
So it was like the Jimi Hendrix Experience and Zipper, and then you realise there was a band called Zipper, and then Juno Reactor, and you realise there was a band called Juno Reactor, and then
Okay, yeah.
grunge happened, so it was like Blue or...
And did you play any other instruments, orchestrums?
I started learning guitar, well, self-taught guitar and bass.
Yeah.
Probably about 92, 93.
Okay.
Like I said, like again, Nirvana played a big part in that.
When did you start playing gigs and stuff?
I think the first gig we did was about 14, 15.
Really? It's pretty young.
Yeah, we got like a gig in my mum's pub.
Oh, wow. What, so you're like 14, 15-year-olds playing to like pissed up adults?
Nah, it was like a school thing.
Oh, right, yeah.
So
yeah.
like people could come in and like the school kids were up there, but obviously no booze.
How did it go?
It was alright apart from nearly taking my eye out.
Jeez.
Rock
and roll.
Got a little bit overexcited and kind of accidentally rammed the drumstick into my eye socket.
Yeah.
I had like about an inch of drumstick in my eye socket.
Of course, this would have been pre-mobiles and social media. That could have been on YouTube by now.
Oh man, it was horrible.
That's the trouble now, isn't it? Any
God-awful
gig.
crunch and a pop as the drumstick came out, and I had to play the rest of the gig like this. It was
Any bad gig nowadays, it's going to be caught on camera, and in fact, you might do quite well out of it. You get loads of views.
You got 200 quid off.
You probably get more views if you have something go wrong at a gig.
I'll try and fake an electrocution at the next one.
Which song? Any good songs you did? Covers? Or?
We did loads of covers. Like the first band was literally a covers pub rock kind. Well, not really pub rock, but covers band.
What do you fancy?
Oh God, what did
that
we
was brilliant song by Deep Purple.
Goldfinger by Ash. We used to do that a lot.
Okay,
that was a good one. We did a lot of classic rock.
Yeah.
We did like modern ones. We kind of did do a couple of organic instrument versions of dance tunes. So like we used to do
quite interesting.
Breathe by the Prodigy and
really as a live band.
Block Rockin' Beats. Yeah.
Yeah, this is cool. Well, I reckon we're at 37 minutes. Let's see if we get to an hour, yeah? You reckon?
Let's do it.
For a demo, which I don't know what we'll do with, but it's certainly introducing us to sort of some really good sounds that have obviously been like big influences for your life.
Good music.
Yeah, definitely. So you've started with drums, and then you also play other instruments, don't you? Play guitar?
Yeah, guitar, bass, and odd bits of other things. Like didgeridoo.
Didgeridoo.
Didgeridoo better not.
Yeah, interesting stuff. So, and time-wise, this is like what, mid-90s?
Yeah. Started playing drums properly in 91.
Okay, yeah.
So when I was about 11, and then just kept playing for years, really. Yeah, it's like the only instrument I've got any grading in as well. Like everything else is just self-taught. There's always.
How much of drumming can be taught, and how much of it is sort of a natural instinct? Because
50-50, I'd say.
Yeah.
I mean, you can teach somebody a drum beat, but if they haven't got like natural coordination in the first place, which I know coming from me, that's ironic. But if you don't have natural coordination in the first place, it's really hard.
Yeah.
Noticed that in a lot of drum classes, like that we were in. You'd have the students that just found it really easy. You'd have the ones that really, really wanted to play, but just didn't have the beat. They didn't have.
Well, I've got this theory that the best drum programming's done by drummers because they've got that rooting in a rhythm, and it's maybe not the same as punching it out on in a computer or whatever, but
yeah,
the idea of the actual rhythms and the patterns of the beats.
I agree with that. I mean, if you look at Nine Inch Nails, like Chris Brenner, who played the live drums, did some amazing drum programming on the albums. a lot can be said for a good drum programmer.
And in terms of sort of soul and funk drumming, and when did you first kind of get into it?
My mum liked odd 60s songs again, so it's kind of like going back to my mum. But I really discovered a lot more sort of funk and soul growing up. You start getting into like James Brown.
Yeah.
You know, you watch a lot of films, so there's always like a Sam and Dave tune on there or something like that, or Curtis Mayfield. And I was always really into like black music and black film, and you know, I kind of had a bit of a love affair with blaxploitation movies for a bit.
Yeah.
So like you start watching them, and then it's like, this is Curtis Mayfield, or this is George Benson or whatever, and you start discovering them, like Quincy Jones and stuff. The man is a legend.
Oh, amazing.
Love him so much. How about you? Like, you're quite in the funk and soul. Like, what started you off?
I was very pop only, very top 40, living in a small town in the pre-internet era. Not that long ago, but it feels like it. You know, basically you'd have to go down to your local Woolies.
Yeah.
You'd get whatever singles, maybe an album.
It's like bargain bins.
Yeah, you know, like grew up on the kind of Novax rock and musics and stuff. So that would be your central focal point. And then every now and then you'd hear a sample or a cover, just a little snippet of something else that would make its way into a now. And particularly in the early 90s when sampling and kind of club tunes and breaks and the aim and break and stuff. And so
best breakup.
It's quite a different way of thinking of beats. Like when you grew up on the 80s and everything was very programmed, or just a simple drum kit. And I think people like De La Soul, and maybe Public Enemy in terms of breakbeats and that old rave stuff, it's like, right, hold on, it's not drum programming as such. They're not like punching out kick, snare. They're not playing drums. It's this weird hybrid of both. It's actually somewhere in that is a real drummer. And I always found that really fascinating that no matter how processed it was, even if it was just a loop, that within that recording, should we play some old rave or something for breakbeat? Let's play some De La Soul. Yeah.
Here was another cover.
Alright. Oh, yeah.
Look, Ash were big that year. Okay?
Yeah, they were big. The professionalism of this is astounding. Should we go for... Alright, let's say Say No Go, because that's a classic.
Yeah. Actually, good use of a Hall & Oates sample.
Exactly, yeah. And I like Hall & Oates as well.
Some good Hall & Oates in this.
But this is a case in point.
This is one of the first hip-hop bands I ever fell in love with.
Like, listen to that beat. That's a real drummer somewhere in there, isn't it?
There's a sample.
Yeah, but a sample of a drummer.
Yeah, man.
And that's what so to answer your question of how did I get into those beats? Through these samples, I think. And then you find out more about the bands who did them.
Yeah. Did you find like growing up as well? Because like music magazines were always a really big thing growing up. I remember that.
Yeah.
Like, did you like get a lot of them?
Yeah. Well, I started off like with my chart thing, really smash hits when it was alright.
Yeah.
But I think for me, I mean, it's kind of getting older and kind of a change of music. I think when things like Bros and Kylie and Jason and all that, that's when I felt a generational shift. Like, alright, this isn't really speaking to me. Like,
yeah. Even as a kid growing up through that,
yeah, kind of.
It was bollocks.
It's like
less about Bros the better.
So then I started to look at. I always liked Q magazine. I don't know if it's because that had a really good cross selection of music, and they seemed genuinely into it. I'd always had a bit of a love-hate thing with Melody Maker and NME. They did have good stuff, but I hated the build them up, knock them down thing, and like, I know they're last month's band, they're shit now.
First album's quintessential, and the second one's difficult, you know?
They go on about like, oh, buy this CD, and then like you save up to buy it, and then by the time you buy it, they're like, oh, they're shit. Why do you still like that?
Yeah. It's like elitism in music.
Yeah. In fact, I wrote a song about that quite early when I was like 17 called Public Enemy. And it was quite a kind of satire thing about hipsters and stuff.
I like that. That works on two levels.
And, interesting pop fact, talking of drum breaks, that song we used a sample of the Gibson Brothers. Woo, who, if you don't know, they're one of my little guilty pleasure bands. But yeah.
Favourite band in the world.
They're really good. Grew up with that. So yeah, drums and stuff.
Cube as a jam.
Yeah, we could put some Gibson Brothers on. There's a drum solo on Que Sera Mi Vida, and it's like perfect for sampling, really. So we did.
We'll have to rip it.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't just beats that would get sampled. You could have guitars. And one thing I think I've got from you with the beatdown mix, we seem to be on a hip hop one, so we can play some hip hop now.
Yeah, why not?
But you've really shown people, I think. How many beatdown sets have we done now? Good 15?
About 15?
Yeah.
Shows, I think.
They're all filed under hip hop, but they're so different, aren't they?
Yeah.
What started you on that voyage?
It was like the more I was checking out stuff, the more of this other stuff was coming in. So like I've been listening to Tribe Called Quest, and then like all of this East Coast poetry kind of rapper come through, and you get like the whole New York set. It was like, all right, well I like more of this.
What was the first hip hop you really got into?
The first song, I used to love really early hip hop, but one of the first singles was Shut 'Em Down by Public Enemy. I must have been like 7, and it was the P.E. Rock remix that I loved.
Okay, I'll get the right mix.
And considering the topic of what it was about, it kind of blew my mind. I'm like this little kid listening to, you know, oppressed black guys getting upset that they're being trapped like as badly as humanly possible.
I mean, one of the good things about this shit year, really shit year for the whole world, really has been that it's been some amazing new music from veterans,
Definitely.
Including Public Enemy, haven't they?
Public Enemy did a 2020 version of Fight the Power.
Yeah, I think there's room for a set of like people in 2020 like Sparks and Yellow and Alternate and New Order. You know, the veterans of music.
It's so trippy seeing Alternate suddenly pop back up and be relevant again. It's like, I used to love these guys, and then like 20, 30 years later, hey, remember us?
But yeah, that's a classic tune, that Say No Go.
I love that song.
Absolute classic, one of the best.
I think that was on that Rap Attack CD I got when I was 10.
Really?
Yeah.
So was that
I think
your
it was
introduction to kind of rap and stuff? Yeah.
This was the one. This was the one.
This is really good.
Uber political for a 7-year-old.
Well,
I like how most of my music never got vetted.
White lines as well. It's interesting how hip hop can introduce people to, like, if not out and out politics, and social issues.
So it makes me more socially aware of things that are going on.
I've never done coke, and I probably never will. And white lines is a big part of that.
Very much overrated, turns people into wankers.
You know that bit at the end where he goes, "Now I'm broke and it's no joke. It's hard as hell to find a dollar."
Yeah.
That really had an impact. I don't really know what he was talking about, but it's like, whatever it is, like, I'm listening. You know, he means it.
Definitely. Some cases it does work, some cases it doesn't.
I think, yeah, when it comes to things like that, is do they mean it? Why are they kind of speaking from experience and stuff?
Yeah. Are they the people they're singing about?
And am I right in thinking, well, I know I am, but I'm pretending it's a question, that you prefer East Coast generally to West Coast? Generally.
Yeah, definitely.
Why is that?
West Coast is all, well, it's not all, but a lot of it is very much that gangster scene.
Yeah.
You know, that whole crack Compton ghettos, which, yeah, it's fine and stuff, but for actual soul, actual feeling, and just poetry, really, it just seems like East Coast is...
Do you think that's a reflection of the actual areas themselves?
Yeah, I mean, like, New York, it's always been well renowned for amazing music. From like Lou Reed, Debbie Harry, all that stuff, all the way up to, you know, like now you've got Odyssey and Homeboy Sandman and people like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there's always a lot more feeling in the East Coast, I think. Like West Coast, it's like got my guns, got my money, go out and shoot a few people, whereas like East Coast, there's a story to it.
Yeah.
A lot of that sort of Brooklyn Zoo area stuff has a lot of really great stories about the streets. It's not just, you know, get the money, do my third. You know, it's good. East Coast, definitely.
In terms of production and sort of hip hop beats and sounds, who do you think are the really good producers?
Really love like Mixmaster Mike's work.
Yeah.
Like with Beastie Boys and
yeah.
other people like that. Terminator X, of course.
So the Beastie Boys were the first to really bridge and maybe in Run DMC the gap between rock and hip hop.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, not even a gap, but to find the common ground, if you like.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. Like they come from this like really punk like outfit, like back in the day, they were like a punk band and stuff. So they're playing these hardcore punk gigs, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, let's mix rap and rock.
Yeah.
There's another band as well that's never stuck with one thing.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah, man. Absolutely. But they've kept their basic vocal style, hadn't they? Like,
To an extent, yeah.
To an extent.
Like, they've gone from like bossa nova stuff to punk stuff to country stuff. To,
Yeah.
Again,
What's their joke band? That little spin-off thing.
Oh, Country Mike.
Yeah, Country Mike.
Country Mike EP is great.
Yeah.
If you like your country with a bit of New York hip hop, that's the one for you. So good.
So we covered rock, we covered hip hop, and then the other big thing, I guess, musically, is the kind of electronics and the electronica side. Where does all that come from?
Damn. Being the child of the 80s, I think. You know, growing up with all those bloop, 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 bloop kind
And
of
robots and space and stuff.
Robots in space. I've always been obsessed with robots in space.
Yeah, me too. I'm in space when I was growing up, like all the rockets to the moon and stuff.
Yeah, and finding out like Pluto and like, hey, there's a planet named after a dog. And all
The
that
rings
sort of
around
stuff.
Uranus and stuff.
Yeah, and learning about the first ever space dog.
Oh yeah,
That was
Katya,
that was Leica.
Leica, sorry,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's one of my names. Yeah,
That's not my name.
it all came from like probably stuff like hearing Yazoo growing up and electronic.
Yazoo. Should we stick
Yeah.
some Yazoo on? Which one?
Nobody's Story is always good for me.
For me, it was Don't Go.
Go on.
Oh, I've got Nobody's
I'll
Diary.
pick the last one. But yeah, like growing up with like Pet Shop Boys, Depeche Mode.
Yeah,
Like, my
80s,
aunties were
electronic
quite.
80s.
My aunties were like teenagers when I was born as well, so they listened to whatever was in the charts.
I love how we roll here. We go from Public Enemy to Yazoo. And it's just the way we view music, isn't it,
I'd
really?
say there's probably only 2 or 3 genres I actually hate, out and out hate, and that's it. It's like happy hardcore and emo.
You have a story about this one, apparently. I don't know if it's true or not, but a pop fact is that,
Poptoid.
yeah, he was just a pub singer, a blues singer,
Yeah, yeah.
and he put an advert for, like, kind of something that blues musicians wanted. Must be rootsy, raw.
Yeah.
And he
Came up with
answered-
Insta like, hello, I've got
Yeah.
the keyboard.
And then he just, like, was so, the chutzpah of it.
That's it. I noticed like a lot of the stuff she did, like after Yazoo, was very big, very bluesy, and
Yeah, so all the synth electronic, obviously
All
a
the
massive
synth stuff,
Kraftwerk
yeah.
fan.
Yeah.
Isn't everyone? Yeah, I got into them. They're one of those bands that I kind of found myself. Again, I think probably through Planet Rock, to be honest. It's like, this is the thing, hip hop, it can lead
Yeah.
you to other stuff. Well, I think I remember Tour de France and just thinking, this is weird. It's all these people riding on bikes and
I think I remember the video for Boing Boom Charcoal Music Non-Stop, whichever it was that got released with the weird sort of wireframe.
yeah, their videos as well.
They were
and
great.
the robots and stuff.
Yeah. I always loved robots more than monsters growing up.
Yeah. And Bowie, of course, I mean, you know, things like Low, he was bringing in electronics with the Brian Eno stuff.
That was something I didn't really get into until later, really. Like the more electronic, like German period of Bowie.
Yeah. You like a bit of krautrock?
I do like a bit of crowd.
Yeah, Neuer cool.
Get some Canon.
Can, yeah. Yeah, what's Connie Plank, I think the producer's name was? He did Vienna as well.
Oh, yeah.
Ultravox. And John Fox. Should we
John
stick some
Fox.
John Fox on?
Go on then.
This, if anyone's not heard it, is from what, 1980?
Yeah.
Uh,
Or 81. I think it's 80.
it's brilliant. Should we put on Underpants?
Amazing misheard lyrics.
Yeah, Underpass.
On the bars.
So yeah, this is very much the roots of. I mean, I can hear this like in your stuff, really.
Yeah. I'm saying yeah like I meant to do it. It's just
Well, I can hear
sort
it.
of electronic sounds.
Yeah,
I
no,
like.
because you've
It's
not even
very-
heard this, had you? It's just that's what
No.
I know. You didn't copy
I
it.
was a big Newman fan.
Yeah,
Big Gary Newman fan.
I will stick some Newman on.
I love that
How long have
shuggy
we got?
noise.
We've got about 15 minutes. Yeah,
Like trying to make guitar sounds out of keyboards is great. This
because
really
it's
inspired me.
it's got a kind of post rock thing as well, isn't it? It's
Hmm.
electronics, but not dance music.
It's like the weird gothy electronica stuff that's kind of dancey but not. It's a bit too dark to be dancey.
Yeah, you can dance to it though. Still,
Hmm.
kind of. This is brilliant. I really like it.
I do love this one. I finally got round to listening to the album as well, and the whole thing's just brilliant.
And in terms of your own electronic dabblings, how did you first get into making your own weird noises?
First things I ever used were like EJ that used to get on PC, where like you'd have a whole bank of samples and you made your own songs out of it.
Yeah.
That was just pride about, and then like you go on to like Music 2000 on the PS1 that me and Tom pretty much stretched the entirety of what that disc could do. We'd like do entire songs that would take up 2 memory cards and you couldn't actually save them. Because with Music 2000 you could import your own CD samples.
Yeah.
So we'd make all these weird sounds and songs and stuff and we could never save them. So we hooked them up to the tape player and recorded them straight from the TV into the tape player, and that was like some of the first demos.
Oh, cool.
So it was like messing about with music and all that kind of thing, and then did a bit of work in the studio for a while.
Well, you actually worked in the studio as an engineer?
It was Old Dairy, like did in York.
Was this the one with the, should we say, rather eccentric producer guy?
The
no
cast off from the
names.
70s.
Really?
Yeah. Tan brown leather jacket, the whole 9 yards, man.
And everyone who went to record there ended up sounding like mud or something.
Pretty much. I upset the poor guy.
Well, my studio claim to fame is that I went to a studio owned and run by the guy who did Ooh Oh Just a Little Bit.
Nice. Did you try and cover your chocolate as soon as you got in the booth?
No, he did a few. He did a remix of Common People as well. That Jarvis specifically commissioned. Yeah, I used to love it. I used to love just going to a studio and it, like, you know, I think in a way you don't need to now with technology, but it's the vibe as much as the equipment in the studio.
I do miss that, like getting a group of people together and just like going, hey, let's huddle up in the room for a day and see what happens. But at the same point, the whole working on your own thing, you haven't got people pushing you, but you're more or less left to your own devices, aren't you?
How did you get into basically programming and stuff, and how did you learn it?
Just through, like I said, those old early computer programs.
Like self-taught, and just worked it all out.
I mean, just taking what I'd sort of learned from studios and like.
Did you think having a kind of fundamental musical theory helps, even with electronic computer music?
Yeah, it helps, but I don't think it's essential.
Yeah, so this is an issue I've had with musicians, again, no names, is it's not like you have to have virtuoso knowledge, but it's like you have to be able to read to have any kind of email. If you send someone an email, they need to be able to read. Sometimes when you're doing music with people, if they don't even know the basic notes, or even that there's 4 beats to a bar, it's really hard to communicate ideas.
Yeah, I mean, you can teach the fundamentals, but it's like, how do they take it on? Like, will they take it on? And
the way I see it is that these fundamentals are how musicians communicate and how we if a singer and a guitarist want to communicate,
it's almost like there's no rules, but there's rules.
Well, there's a shared, you know, I'm hitting an A. Okay, I can also hit the A, or I can go for a harmony with that A.
Yeah. You know, I think you know instinctively what works and what doesn't.
I think everyone should learn that. I think every kid should learn the fundamentals of music.
Definitely.
And then if they want to take that up, great. But if not, at least even listening, I think they'll get more from it.
I think another thing as well is like you've got to have a good teacher.
Well, we did. We had a brilliant teacher, Mr. Pape, who totally got me into playing keyboards. Brilliant teacher. To this day, I'd say he's one of my biggest influences in music. Absolutely. And you had similar good teachers?
Yeah, Mr. Payne.
Payne and Pape.
Which is kind of funny. Mr. Payne, he was our drum teacher.
Yeah.
And great sense of humour. Made learning fun. Which, you know, considering you're a spotty little loik and you don't want to learn anything. But even if you were having an off day, it always made lessons really fun. And you were allowed to bring in your own music. And like you could teach each other drum songs.
Do you think there's a bit of snobbery still with music teaching and things like not quite real music?
Hell yeah. I mean, Leeds College of Music at the time was very much like that. You had like a small offshoot of people that were playing guitar or drums or whatever.
Yeah.
Vast majority of them were like middle class, upper class kids that were playing violin and flute.
I know we had that sometimes. Like Daddy would get someone a brand new guitar for their birthday, and they'd be like Jimi Hendrix in 9 days, and then
yeah. It's just crazy. But there was a lot of snobbery in music college.
So I mean,
it's like, oh, you don't play freeform jazz? It's like, no, sorry, just grunge.
Let me ask you some real good questions these last 10 minutes. Then, what makes something good music? Then, like, You give 2 kids guitars.
What makes something good music?
Well, if you give 2 kids in the same class a guitar,
Hmm.
do you think a teacher can actually?
If one of them said Sharon, can we drown it?
I almost want to play his version of Watchtower now.
Yeah. We'll get a slap.
Guilty pleasure. It's
We'll
not
get a
too
slap.
bad. And I think it's interesting when like you take one artist and you like some things they did and not other things, because then you know you like the artist.
It's even artists within themselves. You can like things and hate things. Like
Yeah.
Radiohead, I love Radiohead,
Let's
but that
face it,
first
Radiohead.
album was shifty as fuck.
All right, well, there's a
It
good one
hasn't
then.
aged well.
What's your favourite Radiohead?
What's my favourite Radiohead? Idiotag, probably. Off, I think it was off Kid A.
There's certainly another band who's changed and evolved,
Definitely.
but you actually think they got better then and their worst was their first stuff.
Yeah. Almost, well, I'm not going to say the same with the Manics, but it's almost
Yeah.
like the first album wasn't as good
Get
as
some Manics on in a bit.
Holy
as
Bible, I think.
well. Okay,
That's
yeah.
probably my favourite album.
So, do you think it's bad as such or just not as good?
At the time, I think it served a purpose.
Yeah,
It got them the big singles, like Anyone Could Play Guitar,
yeah.
and Creep.
But do you think
got
there's
them
people out there
introduced to the
being
world, but
other way round who think that was their good stuff? I'm not sure about this.
yeah, I mean, this album got so much slack, didn't it? It's like, oh, Radio, what are you doing? You got weird.
Well, probably the first real notable example of this was the Cletus incident, wasn't it?
Mhm.
And
Oh, Bob Dylan.
yeah, just for benefit anyone who doesn't know what happened.
Oh yeah, Bob Dylan started bringing in more electric instruments,
Well, like guitars.
like organs and guitars and stuff, and he was playing the gig, and people, like, most of the people weren't really vibing on it, and he's about to start playing, I think it was Ballad of a Thin Man,
Yeah.
and this guy just stands up and goes, Judas! Bob just turns around and goes, I don't believe you, you're a liar, and then just continues the gig. There was like a real feeling of dejection by all these old folkies that were like, what's going on? Why, what? Steam power?
But do you think, to their ears, what he was doing now was like bad music in a way?
It's probably the same as what Radiohead did,
Yeah.
you know? It's like, you've gone from being I wouldn't say chirpy indie band, but you've gone from being a relatively indie band to doing all this weird, like, off-kilter, off-key...
How much do you
spooky
think bands owe
sounding
their
stuff.
fans? I mean, that's always, I find
That's a
that quite
hard one.
interesting, yeah.
I mean, if it wasn't for the fans, you wouldn't have a band, to an extent. I mean, if you're expecting any kind of fame or success or anything, then fans are uber important.
It's really
You
weird.
shouldn't make music for anybody else but yourself, though, I think.
Yeah.
And if other people like it, that's great. You know?
But I can imagine if you're in a band and you get the same fans coming week after week, you want to expand your audience. You want new people to know what you do.
Yeah, you don't
But you don't
want
want
to
to
play the
alienate.
same. Yeah.
Thing is, if you're too bothered about the fans, then it just becomes very corporate and just like, oh, you know, like
Yeah.
almost the customer's always right, which is good in
Then
a
maybe
shop.
you start garnering the wrong kind of fans. Like, again, going back to Nirvana and grunge and like any counterculture, like we were saying before. Once it starts getting popular,
Or
it
Floyd,
starts
just
flooded.
getting loads of people letting off fireworks. Yeah, they're coming to the shows. They call themselves Pink Floyd fans, but
I
would you
really
stop
like
letting
this
off
song.
fireworks? We're trying to do a quiet song here.
I
Some
want to hear
people
this
like
song.
to hear it. I'd like to hear it.
I just want to do a song of just pure Roger Waters samples.
But yeah, I mean, it's again, yes, another band who changed and evolved, and you get people who say, "Oh, I only like the Sid Barrett era stuff." So you know, you can't. And if you do just stay the same, then everyone just thinks you're like status quo, and you're like literally.
Yeah, like every song you release,
Yeah.
It's just boring.
Do you think sometimes bands should call it a day, and then maybe the people in that band could reform another band, or?
I think that's probably it. Like bands that have done that before. I mean, like, what about Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young?
It was because
Like, there were always like 4 people in a band, but they were never in a band. So, like, every single combination of Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young you can think of, they've buggered off and done at some point.
yeah,
And I kind of like that.
they've been off in other bands, they've come back, they
Yeah.
play when they need to, they don't when they
Also,
don't.
Yeah, they've
Yeah.
always said, like, Neil's never to this day said that he was a full-on member of Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
But when he's on it, his name's on it, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
he kept popping up, like, they'd be on tour and it's like, alright, I'll come for a jam. Okay. I'll have a jam, do an album, he'd fuck off halfway through, and
Yeah.
David Crosby would be high on crack. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's like a few good bands out there that have split up, come back as other bands. Caius, I guess, they split up and became Queens of the Stone Age, and from that Nick Olivieri became Mondo Generator.
One I'm going to play now is a classic of the example.
Yes.
Should we go for There Goes the Fear?
Oh,
Done.
I love that song.
Great Manchester band. The story with them is they were sub back in the 90s. Did a really good disco song. Ain't no love and ain't no use.
That was well funky, that tune.
Yeah.
I love that song.
Great singing. Great singer. Was it Melanie someone? Melanie Williams, was it?
I think it was.
Yeah.
So I always
And,
used to get Sub and Gus Gus mixed up.
It's almost the same backwards, almost.
Gus
That was
Gus.
magnificent, by the way. That was a really, really
That
good
is an
track.
all-time favourite as
Yeah.
well.
Idiotic. And There Goes the Fear. Yeah, they were sub. The studio burnt down, apparently.
Mm.
Like Phoenix Nights. Just been watching it.
Get Perry just
Absolutely
outside.
brilliant.
Love it.
Yeah, we've got about 3 or 4 minutes. It's been a really good chat. And as we're talking Phoenix Nights, let's just have a few minutes about other stuff other than music, comedy and stuff. You're a big comedy fan, aren't you? Who are your comedy heroes?
Huge comedy fan. Eric Morecambe.
Yeah?
Love Eric Morecambe. There was just something about him. I think it was like growing up with Vic. Like from
Vic
Vic and Bob.
Moves, yeah.
And for some reason, Vic reminds me of like son of
Definitely,
Eric.
he's got that
Son of
spirit.
Eric.
Yeah. It's just that sort of slightly bemused look.
Yeah, it's just like,
Yeah.
um,
Can't understand what the fuss is about and all around him's going horribly wrong. And Vic and Bob for me as
Yeah.
well, absolute classic.
Big Night Out. I've been watching that again on 4OD and
That
it's
revolutionised my idea of comedy. It really did.
still can't watch the 30 Men thanks to Acid. That was
Yeah,
just-
absolutely love Vic and Bob.
it's just horrific but great. And what else have we been watching? We're checking out Man Down as well, aren't we?
Yeah, Man Down,
It's
really
like one
funny.
thing Rick
Good
Mail
day.
did.
But in terms of grew up with stuff like the young ones, like everyone,
Rick Mail
Harry
was a hero.
Enfield, Fast Show. Yeah,
Definitely all the classics. Red Dwarf, Blackadder.
Red Dwarf, Blackadder.
All
Yeah.
those good ones.
Um,
Music chat that's ending with comedy. I'm liking that.
and any other kind of like things that have been really influential to your music? Not necessarily in music, any other bits of art? Or...
All sorts of things really. There's too many to think of. Living with Ash, like my housemate.
Yeah,
We
not the band.
like a lot of the same things, and we go really geeky into a lot of the same things.
Yeah.
So it's usually like animated series or comic books or whatever.
Well, I think if you
Games.
put all the elements of what we've chatted about, you really get a good overview of your influences there. You've got the kind of rock background and the drums, you've got the hip hop and the rap, you've got the electronica, you've got some comedy, and you've got kind of space and robots. That how's that
All
for
the
kind
good
of
stuff.
a good kind of beginner's guide to the world of 13X?
Throw some anime in there, you got the perfect salad.
Yeah, well, thanks for chatting like this, and I hope we can do more as well.
Thank you, it's been fun.
And if we do put this on air, which I don't know yet, but if we do and anyone's watching it, got any ideas or feedback, get involved. We
Definitely.
might well go on to video ones at some point, but let's start with your audio, see how that
See how it
works.
goes.
Yeah,
Definitely.
it's just nice to have some content because, like, you know, we have talked about this sort of stuff a lot, and I think this year with 2020, I think a lot of people have
Need more
had to
content.
go back to kind of like art and stuff, haven't they? You know,
Yeah,
you're stuck at home.
it's
What
been
you
a
can do,
very
listen to
nostalgic
music.
time.
Yeah.
For me, anyway, I'm like listening and watching more nostalgic things. So
But with that in mind, our radio show goes strength to strength, doesn't it? So we're moving forward,
Yeah.
we're keeping things going, making new music and stuff. So
when all this is over, there'll be new events and stuff as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely. And
Keep
just
on it.
before the lockdown stuff, you did actually throw a really, really good night, a fundraising night of electronic music, which was really good. So I hope there'll be more soon.
I want to keep doing them.
Yeah.
Get some good bands out.
Yeah, no, some really, really good talent. And, you know, that's the thing. There's still great music being made, isn't it?
Definitely.
It might be different and in different formats, and it might not be top of the pops anymore, but people are still making good music. And
There's still good stuff out there.
yeah.
Support your local band.
Part of the fun of it is just finding stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially if it's stuff that people haven't heard, and you're like, oh, wow.
Basically, trolling YouTube and SoundCloud is the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
Like, you'll find some weird links, but you also
And
find,
talking of links for your own stuff, Bandcamp. Is it just Bandcamp?
13x on Bandcamp and SoundCloud, and Cat13x on YouTube.
That's 13x, and on
Yeah.
YouTube, KATT13x.
Yeah.
We can put a link up, maybe.
Yeah.
Alright, well, nice one. 13x, aka Cat. That
Thank
was a
you.
really good little confab, and I hope people enjoyed it.
Yeah, that wasn't waffly.
See you later.
Bye.